Welcome to Venture Step Podcast. We discuss entrepreneurship, industry trends, and the occasional book review. Join me today to celebrate a milestone that you helped achieve. Venture Step Podcast is now over 1,000 downloads on all platforms and nearly 40,000 views on YouTube. Incredible. Honestly, still surprised that people listen to the show and people find value from things I'm talking about. Overall, very appreciative. But in this show, I want to celebrate those milestones and also talk about what I plan for the future and discuss the things that I think will make the show more valuable to you and more value to myself, and illustrate those ideas through this episode. And so I hope that you'll tune in and find it interesting. And if not, then that's fine. You could drop off and be like, yes, give yourself a pat on the back. You've done your good deed today. You have helped a new podcast show up on the map, right? Just feed the algorithm monsters. But yeah, so I would say that the podcast is growing, and this month will be, I think, a record for the podcast. It looks very likely that it's going to break the record of December. And for those of you that don't know, podcasting is a bit seasonal, where majority of your downloads will be coming from the winter times, because quite a bit of the population lives in places where during the winter months it's cold. I myself am not familiar with that and will become more familiar when I move to New York City in June. But yes, podcasting is seasonal. So the engagement of the listeners on the show or podcasting in general is at its peak in the winter months. And then during the summer months, when there's a whole bunch of festivals, the weather is great. People's got their tops off, they're sunning, and they're just doing their thing and traveling, going on vacation. That gets in the way of podcasts. Like, come on, you got to listen and have a good time at the same time. But I understand, it makes sense. So, but for this month, it seems to be the record. Well, before we dive into this episode, it was mentioned from a friend that listened into a couple episodes that I need to make sure that I occasionally still do the intro. Like, I think that he said that it adds a lot of value. So I'm going to do an intro, quick one. Just bothered me that they were too long. And I felt like, hey, I'm like 60 episodes in. But there's still people that come into the show that are new. So I'm the host. My name is Dalton Anderson. I have been working in insurance in multiple areas, like from data, actuary to actuarially, or in contributing to a startup-like situation where I've scaled it from 0 to 1. And if you don't know what 0 to 1 means, it means starting from scratch and then turning it into something like an actual business that produces revenue and is profitable. And this podcast I've created is just to share my thoughts, my learnings, and get more people on the show. I'm still lacking on that. It's pretty complicated to schedule these people, but more to come on that later in the episode. But yeah, my name is Dalton Anderson. I like to read books, run, play sports, and podcast. Anyways, so the next thing is just expressing appreciation of the listeners, right? Like I really do appreciate that people tune into the episodes. I really do appreciate that people provide advice. And I know that I haven't been able to implement the advice all the time because some of it I have to wait for my relocation. My move to New York City may not be open to everybody. Like, it was a closed decision mentally, and then it was opened up to the public, like my friends, my family. But it had been something I'd been pondering for a long time. And I knew it wouldn't make sense to buy this stuff, like get the lighting stuff done and these other items and upgrade the production value of the show until I moved, because I don't know where I'm going to be, how much space I'm going to have, how am I going to get things to work? Like if I live in like some small studio, I've got to make sure I have the right type of lighting set up, and there's a whole bunch of different lights. And if you have different lights, then it's just a whole thing. It's pretty complicated, more complicated than you would think for like lights and cameras. But that's why people have a whole career on lighting for movies and stuff. So anyways, so I know that I haven't been able to implement a lot of the feedback that I've gotten, especially on YouTube. And I hear you, right? I hear you. Every time someone provides feedback, good or bad, I write it down, I make a mental note of it, and I try to work towards improving the show. So whatever feedback you do have and you want to provide, yeah, like do it. Like good or bad, I'll make note of it. I see it and I really appreciate it. And I'm trying to grow myself as well as the podcast. So any feedback is appreciated. And since it's most of the time anonymous, you can really lay into me and it's not gonna hurt my feelings. It's it's just life. And I'd appreciate feedback that is real, unfiltered. And that's feedback that I've gotten. Like I've had people lay into me like you're trying to do too much. Like, we appreciate you because you're the underdog and we want to support you. And like now you're trying to like blow out your videos and like have a script and all this stuff. Just say your thoughts, relax, like look into the camera and get used to it. And I've I've implemented that feedback. That was pretty easy. But all of the lighting suggestions and the things when guests are on the show, I haven't had a guest on the show since, but I think it's called like an earlum. It goes inside your ear, and so when you talk, you have the output of the mic in your ear without the headphones. And that was a great suggestion. I looked into that, priced it out, configuring like which one I want to get. And then obviously the lighting suggestions have to wait for the move. And then I'm going to upgrade my camera as well. But I want to talk more about that on the next section. But I just wanted to say I really appreciate the feedback. I appreciate that you're listening in. And not only are you listening in, you are willing to contribute and try to improve something that your contribution isn't profitable, or it's just like you're being nice, right? Like that's the purest part of the internet. Like those people and the people that are interacting with the show, they don't get anything out of it. I'm some no-name person that's doing podcasts, that's trying to be somebody eventually, and the whole plan is, the stuff that I'm doing now, 5 years from now, that's going to make me the person that I'll become. And you'll be able to see like gradually as I progress through life, how the things that I'm doing now will influence me in the future and provide the opportunities to hopefully make me exceptional. And yeah, I just really wanted to emphasize that your interaction with the show is, in my mind, one of the purest parts of the internet, like contributing when there is no outcome for you. Like you get nothing out of it. Like literally, if you help me or not, it's not going to change your life. It's not going to influence you. You're not going to make any money. No one's going to know you did it. Like everything that people may care about, like the notoriety, the visibility, the financial piece of it, none of that's there. It's just being genuine and actually wanting to help somebody. Really appreciate it. And also, it's like, why me? Like, why me? Like, I'm just some random person on the internet, just talking, yapping into the mic, and have a bad lighting, annoying light above me, and just everything that it is just, yeah, I still confuse sometimes. Why me? Anyways. So the next topic that I want to talk about is the part about scaling. So the podcast is getting up there in episodes, like close to 100 episodes. Whoop, whoop, right? But now that I have quite a few episodes, I am getting legitimate guest requests, like actual like people that are wow, like their resume and the things that they've done in life, credible. VCs, private equity people that own funds. And when I say VCs, I mean people that founded the VC or very cool entrepreneurs that are innovators and either have like some kind of cool AI program or company or an interesting approach to an industry that hasn't changed. And I'm excited to get those people on the show. But before I had all these podcast episodes, what I was getting and what people were asking to get on the show for were to sell a course. And I'm not shilling anybody to sell a course. You're not selling a course on this show. If you want to sell your book, or if your book also comes with a course, that's fine, I guess. But if your sole goal is to get on the show to sell a course, no. The answer is no. Firm no. Oh, well, no. And it's just not happening. You're not getting on the show. Like, I'm not interested to have a conversation with you to sell a course. I'm interested in your perspective on life and the things that you've done and how you went about it and your challenges and how people could interpret those things and apply them to their life on what they want to achieve or the cool things that you see that to be happening in the future. Those are the things I'm interested in. Selling a course, not interested. Just make sure that's very, very clear to anyone who listens. Okay, cool. And yeah, I mean, I don't really have super high standards on like who I want. All right, sorry. Let me rephrase that. I do have high standards on who I want on the show, but they're not like insane. Like really, all I do is I'll look at them, and I want to have a chat with them on the phone before they get on the show, and then I like to look at them on the internet and see what's going on, like the things that they've done, make sure that they're legit, like a verification check. And if they've gone on any other podcasts, like how do they speak and how do they interact with the host, just so I can see if we would jive. And it's pretty, I feel like it's pretty low bar. But yeah, I was getting a whole bunch of people that wanted to sell a course, and I'm not doing that. And so I know that there's some kind of platforms that will help you find and link up with guests. And I've tried a couple of them. Haven't liked them that much, but I do like when these agencies reach out to me and they've got somebody that want to get on a show. I don't know the financial compensation they get if they actually book the show, but those seem to be really good leads on folks to get on the show. And so more to come on that. I've got plenty of great guests that potentially can get on the show. And it's not for I'm not scaling for money. I'm scaling for fun. Like I think it's a fun and cool thing to do. Like, oh, scale a podcast or scale something. It's just fun. Right? Like scaling a business, scaling this podcast. And maybe one day this podcast becomes more of an operation than it does this fun side hobby. But I don't think it's going to turn like that. I still think it's going to be for me and my personal gain. And then if people find that stuff interesting, then they can tag along and be part of it. But I'm scaling for fun, not for money. And I'm having these people on the show not for appearance reasons. I'm having them on the show because I think they'd be interesting to you and interesting conversations for me to have. It's interesting for you to listen and interesting conversations for me to have. And that's one piece of the show that will help scale. And I think the guest thing would be big, right? We're getting guests on the show where I'm getting a lot more perspectives on the things that I want to do or talk about. And it allows me to like connect with many people from different industries and also get other podcasters on the show. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good. But I think the key challenge with the guests and the guests that I'm trying to get on the show is that they're busy and I'm busy. And it's so hard for me to get people to schedule everything all in one. Like people have jobs just for scheduling guests on shows. Like that's a legitimate job where they're constantly figuring out people's schedules and then finding a right time. I had a person that I knew on that wanted to be on the show and they were available like 4 months out. They're like, yeah, I'm going to be traveling conferences nonstop. I've got to talk to my students and stuff, and I've got to prioritize those things. And so I'm actually free like this summer. And I was talking to the guy in November, like last year. He's like, I'll be free 2025 summer. It's like, all right, I'll touch base with you. I'll put a mental note and I'll also schedule an email summertime. We'll connect. Because the guy's running businesses. He's also like very involved in the university conferences, and he's just a thought leader in that area. And so with all those things combined, he just doesn't have time. So I need to figure out a better way to schedule guests on the show and make it seamless and enjoyable for them. I'm still figuring that one out. It seems that everyone likes to use Calendarly, I think it's called. It's okay. It doesn't have that many features. I can't integrate it with my work calendar. There's all sorts of issues with it. So it's in my mind okay. I wish there was a better solution that would integrate all of my work stuff plus my personal stuff, and then I'll have just a nice outlook. But I can't integrate my work stuff because it's not allowed by my admin, and there's no way around that one. So the next thing is about boosting production value. And I kind of talked about it a little bit on the show earlier in the episode. Advice that had been provided is getting better lighting, right? Like if you're watching on video, there I have hi-hats and then I have a light to the right of me. That's a fan. You can see how my hand lights up. And then there's a light all around. And then the hi-hats, there's one all the way in the back corner. It's above my head. And it can be visually annoying, right? When you're watching these videos. And I understand that. There's just really nothing I can do. Like I'm living in my room. Like behind me is my bed. That's a Murphy bed. I've got this big desk, this setup. I'm living inside a room. So I don't have the space to like customize how everything looks and feels, which I will do in my studio or my one bedroom in New York. I'll do that. And it's basically going to be my place is going to be like work office desk with my gaming computer, which also is my podcast, like my home computer. It is a gaming computer though. I got the NVIDIA GeForce RTX. I'm cracked, baby. But so it's going to be my work desk. Then after that, I'm going to configure my place to have a podcast studio. So I don't have that much space, but a pretty big apartment. And so it's going to be podcast studio, bed, shower, kitchen, work desk. Like it's just going to be me grinding in the concrete jungle. It's so funny. But yeah, like somebody's going to come to my house and they're going to be like, where do I go? It's just going to be like, there's going to be like no chairs. The bed's going to be on the floor. The TV is going to be propped up on shoe boxes. And then there's just going to be like lights and cameras and action. I'm just messing around, but I am going to be very, very heavy leaning to the podcast studio / work setup. Hopefully I have enough space to figure out like maybe like a smaller couch or something like that people could like go and sit down at. And maybe my couch is dual function where I have my talking head videos. I'm sitting on the couch and the lights are situated like near the couch or something. I've got to figure that all out when I move in. So, but I am going to buy a new camera and lights. And so I was waiting to buy the lights because I didn't know how big my place was and how it all look and feel. So I've got to move in and then I'll figure out, do the measurements. Because you're like, well, why does that matter? Well, lights and cameras for production setups are quite complicated. Like, depending on the size of your room and how tall the ceiling is, and then how far away are you from the subject, depends. That changes the amount of lumens you need. And then you want a light that has like 98.7% color accuracy. And then depending on your shot and what you want to do and kind of what other lights you have at your place, that depends on what diffuser you need for the lights. And that and then you need the right stand. Do you want a stand that is like L shaped? Do you want a stand that's just like normal? And then you can like twist the light where you want. Do you want a stand like that's like nailed into the wall? Like how do you want to have it all set up? And then you have to figure out the camera situation, and that's super complicated. So apparently cameras have a 30-minute shut off. So they might be good at video, but then they have a 30-minute shut off for automatic shut off. And there's ways around the 30-minute automatic shut off by plugging in the computer to like this. It's like a capture card, I think it's called. And it's a capture card where the video it keeps the camera on video, and then it captures all of the video and processes it on the capture card. And basically the camera is just on and it's videoing, but it's not processing any of the video. It's being processed on the capture card. But then if you had a longer video, say it's like 45 minutes, after that point, then the camera starts to overheat, drop frames, drop quality, or it might just straight up shut off. So then there's another way around that where like you don't use the battery anymore and you have this thing where you plug in the camera into the wall, and then the camera gets plugged into the wall and it replaces the battery. So it's like a plugged in camera. But it still has issues. If you run it too long, it will shut off because it still overheats, but it will take longer to overheat. And then there's other cameras that have fans built in them. And then those cameras are like really expensive. And there's just all of these things you got to figure out on like what you want to do. There's pros and cons to everything, and figuring out what you're comfortable with. And for me to figure out what I'm comfortable with is hard because I don't know that much about cameras and lights. And so there's just a lot of research that needs to get done on that end. But I have been looking at some Sony cameras that are made for like videos, like high end Sony cameras. So I think the problem I have is, say that you buy a $1,200 camera and then you have to get a lens for, say it's $600. Like right then, like you're almost in like $2,000. And then you've got to buy lights and these other things, and you can get okay lights. Like you don't have to get crazy lights. I think Amaran lights are really good for the price, at least. Like price per light is like decent, and like the production value that it adds is good. But I'm saying all this because I'm looking into it. I just got to move to my place first, and I've got to figure out this space situation, and then I'll need to figure out if I want to do the videos off of this desk. Like I'll buy a new desk, but videos off the work desk, or videos like talking head videos on the couch, and figuring out what vibe I want. I think I'd want something along the lines of both, where I'll be able to hop on the computer, share my screen, show you something. And then if not, I could be talking on the couch and it'd be more casual. And then when I have guests on the show, I would do like a video call, and then I could use my GoPro camera. I could set up as a webcam, and I've got the new GoPro for travel trips I've been going on. So I used the GoPro for South Korea and Japan. I used it for Guatemala, and I'm going to use it in New York on this next trip. And I used it on my previous trip to New York. that it's like this action adventure camera. Plus, I can also have it plugged in as a webcam because I'm not traveling all the time. Hey, if we can do that, we can figure that one out. That would be pretty sick too. But I really got to set my roots down and grind and lock in, and that's why I'm moving to New York. So I'm trying to figure this all out, and it's hard to figure out without actually being there. It's in the queue, right? It's definitely in the queue. And the next thing that I always wanted to talk about, and I'm going to share my screen for this, is Paul Graham's essays. And I am going to start creating essays online. So I'm going to share this. So Paul Graham has a website, and if you're listening to this show, I'm pretty sure you know who Paul Graham is, but if you don't, let's just type this in. But he is one of the founders of, and I'll share this screen, share this tab instead. He's one of the founders of Y Combinator, and he is considered like a legend in the space. He's only 60, and he was a computer scientist and writer, and he has this website that he's been doing for some time called paulgraham.com. And on this website, he has many amazing websites. On this website, he has many amazing articles, and they're super cool, right? Like, he puts a lot of time in them, and they are influential. People cite them. They've been citing them for years and years. And it's just that these essays have inspired millions of people to start startups or to pursue something that they never thought they could. And it's just such a good resource for people. So I want to create something similar. And this is really inspired by Paul Graham, right? And so I am building, share this tab instead. So I'm sharing this video, or not video, I'm sharing this tab, right? And this tab is my website. So I'm going to have two things on here. I'm going to have Venture Step articles. And so these are articles. These aren't essays. But the next thing I'm going to have is I want to start writing essays. Like, what does it mean to be human? Like, that's something I've been thinking about a long time. Like, what does it mean to be human? Like, being human used to be kind of an open-ended question to where, like, being human could mean a lot of things. But now, as the age of AI speeds and increases in speed and progresses, what it means to be human is more and more clear. And like, when I mean clear, I think it's more defined than it ever used to be. Right? Like, as AI becomes super advanced, and it's always going to be better at math and anything that's technical, like, what it means to be human is to be able to communicate, to love, to cherish, to contribute on an emotional level. Whereas before, like, being and to explore and to build, like, those are what I think it means to be human. Like, exploring and building is like one of my cornerstones of my personality. And it's shown and shines throughout the show where I'm talking about all these random topics. That is something that I want to talk about, and I want to write about, and I want to publish it, and I want it to be out there in the world. Who knows when I leave and I'm taken away from Earth? I don't know. It could be 50 years from now, or it could be 70 years from now, or it could be a week or tomorrow. I have no idea. So I would like to put together all the podcast episodes and have articles of them. And then I'd also like to have essays. And I'm using Ghost because it's just easier to set up. I'm using Ghost, and the Ghost is going to allow me also to allow people to contribute to the show. I'm not going to ask anybody to ever do that. But if you did want to do that, I was going to set it up to be, and I'm going to contribute to myself. I think I'm going to do it to $2 a month. And yeah, so I was going to set that up as well. But yeah. Anyways, so that was my Paul Graham inspiration. Stop sharing. The next thing that I wanted to talk about was my move to New York. So I'll be moving to New York City, East Village, Manhattan, June. And that's soon, like very soon. And when I move to New York is going to help me step out of the shadows, right? Like I've had to hide for a long time, like hide who I want to be, hide who I am, and what I want to do, like long term, like middle school, high school, college. Like you tell a teacher, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be a founder. In middle school, in high school, they tell you to pick a real profession. Like that's not realistic. Like why even bother? When you're in college, it seems to be a little bit more realistic. People like, yeah, whatever. And then when you get into the workplace, it's not typically well received. And so you just have to put on this mask and pretend that you're interested in things that you're not interested in, and pretend that like you can't shine, and try not to outshine other people, to not upset them, and to allow them to shine. And it's not that I want to take other people's spotlights, like people that I believe in and that I want to upskill and promote. It's more like moving to New York. I'm moving there for the people. The people are exceptional. Like the people I want to interact with are going to be like the best ever. Like they're going to be the cream of the crop. And when I'm hanging out with those people, I'll realize that, hey, I'm not that far off. I really am. I'm not. And it's going to the energy of the city, like the overstimulation of everything going on in the city. That is going to allow me to reach the next level. I'm telling you. I know it. I can feel it in my bones. And that's going to shine through all aspects of my life. Like on this show, I'm very confident, right? I wasn't always a confident podcast host, but my speaking and the way that I enunciate myself and my tone and how I'm going about the episode and my direction and the sternness of my words, all of that shines on this podcast. But that's not necessarily always true in all areas of my life. And it's because I've had to hide for so long. I've had to hide. Like on this episode and this podcast, I don't have to hide. I can talk about these crazy technical nerdy things, and I could talk about what I want to do in the future. And there's no one in my ear like, oh, like that's so stupid or whatever. Like who cares about this technical nonsense? It's not important. And it's not that I have like somebody to vent to or anything like that. It's just that I can be me. And being me on the show is great. Being me in the workplace, it shows in certain areas, not always in others. Moving to New York, the mask is going to rip off. The mask is gone. And I'm going to be me pretty much all the time. And I'm not going to hide in the shadows and feel it's cold. I'd rather burn in the sun. and shine. I'd rather shine in the sun and potentially burn than feel the coldness of the shadows. That's how I'd phrase it. And what I meant by my confidence in the way that I conduct myself, it shines in not all areas. I think that's especially evident in some facets of my workplace where I'm in these meetings where I'm not necessarily comfortable being there, or it's not that people make me uncomfortable. It's just that like everyone is very, very senior and I don't treat people differently, but there's a lot of doubt on like why I'm there. And I try not to like shine too much, right? Where it looks like I'm trying hard or I'm desperate for attention. Because as I talked about on the show, it's not like that. Like if you're desperate for people to see you, then they see your insecurities. And I think that I am hiding myself to the extent that I am not showing who I really am, if that makes sense. Whereas instead of shining the way that I normally would and announcing myself a little bit, I shudder a little bit. I close myself off and I don't show the me that's me. I make myself small and I don't want to do that anymore. I'm not doing that. I'm me. And it's going to be so much fun to take the mask off. It's going to be great. And I remember a scenario where I was in this leadership meeting. It was in person and I was late because I was dealing with a work emergency and I had to come into the office early, work the emergency, and then I was late to the meeting. And I showed up and you could just feel it. Like, why? Like, was it take your kid to work day here? Like, who is this person? Why is this person here? I could just feel it in the air and the energy. Like the air was thick, the eyes were piercing, and they're just like, why is this kid here? Like, what is this kid doing here? What is he going to contribute? And in that moment, I didn't hide. And when they asked me questions, they first they called on me randomly and they're like, Dalton, what do you think about this? And the way that I spoke and conducted myself answering that question, I was quick, I was concise, I was stern, but sternly malleable, like where I wasn't just overly sure in myself. I just stated the obvious, like why it is the way it is, and then what could change, but open to other suggestions. And you could see that, or I could see, you couldn't see it because you're not there, and the other people probably aren't even thinking about it, but you could see the whole energy shift in the room. Like, wow, that's why that kid's here. Like, look at him. That's crazy. That guy's an animal. But at the same time, in certain scenarios, I'm hide, and I don't know why. And I think it's because I've gotten in trouble at work a couple times for just shining too much, and that's kind of scarred me a bit. But I don't want to hide anymore. And New York is definitely gonna force me to be me all the time. And so it's going to be exciting. It's going to be cool. And I'm excited for the people I'm going to interact with, the speed of my learning rate that increases. That's all going to translate into the show, right? Like the show is going to become much better than what it is today from what it will be in a couple months. And that's a fact. I know that. As I said before, I feel it in my bones. And it's not something that I am having any doubt about at all. And I really do appreciate you coming on this journey. We're going to close out here, but I just wanted to provide a brief look at the analytics, and it's going to just take a couple minutes. So I'm going to share my screen. And one thing that I found was pretty cool was the total downloads. And what I talked about prior was that it's close to the record, right? And so let me share my screen. Share. And I've gotten way better at sharing my screen. Like I sometimes I've had trouble. I'm like, wait, I don't know what's going on here. But if you look at my all-time downloads, you can see how month to month, like February, I got 20 downloads. March, I got 68. And this is March of 2024. And so you can see how like the graph slowly goes down in the wintertime. I meant to say the summertime, like July, August, June. It seemed like it was held stable to May. But come to July, August, September, that all the downloads went down. And then when you get to the wintertime, the downloads increase. So November, record month. December, record month. January, record month. February, drop. March, close to record. April, close to record. May, on track to beating record. So I just thought it was interesting to share. And then the last thing that I wanted to show about the analytics, and I'll have to figure out how to share this because I thought ahead and I put it as a tab. So that's good. I wanted to show the downloads over time. I'll say share this tab. Instead. Okay, so this is the downloads over time by month. And you can see how, like, during my releases of certain episodes, the downloads spike throughout the months. And then there's some like massive spikes randomly, like in this month, it's happened twice where the downloads spiked to like 60 downloads a day. And then this one's like 45 downloads in that day. But I just thought that was cool to share about the downloads over time, and then the downloads over time by month to month. And then the last thing that I wanted to talk about was global baby. Venture Step is in 51 countries. I looked it up earlier. There's 195 countries. So I think that puts me like close to like 30% of the world. That'd put me pretty close to 30% of the world. Not 30% of the population, but like 30% of the world's countries, someone has listened to an episode of Venture Step. It'd be really cool to get to 100%, but I know that some countries may not have podcasts. Not that they don't have podcasts, but they don't listen to podcasts in English. So maybe all of the English speaking countries. That'd be a cool goal. But I really do appreciate everyone listening to the show. And it's incredibly, I really don't know how to phrase it, honestly. I was going to say something like it was just straight nonsense, but it's incredible that people listen, right? Like I'm still surprised, like genuinely, I'm surprised and thankful that people listen to the show. And it keeps me motivated to keep pursuing my goals and keep adding value to the show because I don't want to let you guys down. I don't want to let you guys down. And you listening in, even though we don't know each other, I'm pretending I'm delusional enough to be like, oh, I can't let them down. I can't let the listeners down. Like, I got to make sure I do a good episode and I take things seriously and I'm not half-assing it. And there has been some episodes where like I'm just drained. I'm so tired and I just have to get the episode done because I didn't have episodes ahead of time, like scheduled. Now I've got episodes that are scheduled, and I want to do this podcast earlier in the day after I went on this really long run in the sun in Florida. Then I worked out, and then I went to the hot tub, did yoga. And so it was like a 4-hour session, and then I had a lot of food, and I was just beat. And I was like, you know what? They deserve more. They deserve more. And so I took a nap. I took a nap for you. I took a 45-minute nap just to make sure that when I spoke on this episode, I was coherent, sharp, ready to go for you. And so I just wanted to mention that I appreciate you. And I hope that you keep listening in. And I hope that, yeah, you found this episode funny and you appreciate me as well. But once again, wherever you are in this world, good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I hope you have a great day and hope you listen in next week. See ya. Goodbye. Dalton out.